You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mamas. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. Haven't done one of these solo episodes in a while, so I'm looking forward to this conversation with myself that I am going to have with you today. Let's see. We are in the thick of holiday season. And I don't know about you, but like the stress is creeping in, like all the magic that a lot of us moms feel like we need to make. So before we dive into our topic today, I just want to remind you, if you are feeling this, if you are stressing, if this is happening for you right now, number one, you are not alone. You are in good company. And number two, you might want to check out the Holiday Habits Workshop, you guys. I've been doing this workshop for the last 3 holiday seasons. It has helped dozens of mamas feel less stress during this time of year because it can be tricky. And so in this Holiday Habits Workshop, it is like just shy of an hour. It comes with a workbook to help you really customize, personalize the content that you're receiving, to help put a plan in action, to help hold you accountable. And it is going to boost your productivity, decrease your stress and anxiety, and hopefully bring some joy back into the holiday season. You don't need to be the joy maker only. You get to experience the joy too. So if that sounds like just what you need, the link is going to be in today's show notes. I want you to definitely grab that for yourself, and you have access to it forever. So like you can rewatch it next year during the holiday season and the year after that to give yourself a refresher. All right, now let's dive into our topic today. So I wanted to pick this topic because I feel like if you are a new mom or pregnant with your first baby, or even if you're adding to your family, as we know, that is a completely different shift in the motherhood season when you go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 or whatever that is. It's all a transition. You may be thinking about what type of childcare solution makes sense for your family. And so I wanted to kind of do a rundown of childcare options for working moms. Now, full disclosure, I have not used all of these options, but I have used some. And if I haven't used them, I've researched them. So I want to just quickly touch upon about 5 different options here and do like a little bit of a pro-con list to help you hopefully make your decision and, at least narrow down your choices here of what makes the most sense for your schedule, your lifestyle, your budget, your family in general. Because when you are a working mom, the one thing that you really want when you leave your child in the care of someone else is you want peace of mind. You want to know that you can go to work, focus on work, and not worry about your baby or your toddler or your kiddo with someone else or in an environment where someone else is taking care of them. So here are 5 different options to consider if you are looking for your first or a new childcare solution. And again, we're kind of going to scratch the surface here. I would highly encourage you, do your own research, dig deep, right? Figure out what the best option is for you. But this could be a really great introduction to the options that are available out there. And maybe there are more than 5, but these are the 5 that came to mind for me. All right, so let's dive in with the first option, which is daycare, a really popular option that a lot of working parents use, right? Now, again, full disclosure, I have not used daycare in our childcare solutions over the years. We've got 11-year-old twins, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old as I am recording this. And daycare was never something that we actually tapped into, although it certainly could have been. So here are the pros and cons I tend to hear or that I've researched when it comes to daycare. Pro number one, it is a very social environment for kids. So if you are looking for your child to have lots of interaction with other children their age or with even teachers or adults, right? Like this is a great environment for that. A lot of daycares often double as like a preschool experience too. So, while a traditional preschool may only be a few hours a day, a daycare could extend the length of your workday and still encompass some of those really awesome preschool aspects. And sometimes daycares tend to be lower than maybe an in-home care option when it comes to rates, because they're able to charge less per child because there are more children in the room, right? So there's that option to consider if budget is a big part of this decision, which it is for most people. Childcare is not inexpensive these days. All right. So let's dive into some of the cons that I have heard when it comes to daycare. So if you are adding a child to your family, like if it's not your first child, that cost is going to increase per child. This can often double or triple as you add more kids into the mix. Yes, they probably do offer some sort of sibling discount, but from what I've seen and heard, it's usually more like a 10% or something like that. It's not going to be anything like super significant. Then there's the issue of illness. So when you put, 5 or 10 toddlers in a room together and one's got a runny nose, it could very well be that cold spreads around the classroom. So your child is growing immunity, which is a pro, but could also be sick more often than you would like. Then there's the logistics of drop-offs and pickups and packing bags and diaper bags and lunches and snack and extra clothes and all of that good stuff, right? That has to happen in order to prepare each day for the daycare day. And then lastly, about schedule, like you are at the mercy of the daycare's schedule. So if the earliest time you could drop off your kiddo is 7 a.m., that's what it is. If the latest you could pick up is 5 or 6 p.m., that's what it is. So if you work maybe more of an unconventional schedule or your schedule tends to change day to day, this may or may not be the best solution for you. So just something to consider. All right, so that's daycare. Next, let's move on to the nanny. All right. So we've definitely used nannies before in our home. And some of the pros that I really like about using a nanny are you select the provider. So you get to interview, you get to really get to know this person and choose who is going to care for your child. It takes place in your home. So if that's something that's important to you, like maybe that your baby sleeps in their own bed or that your kids are in their own space, their own environment, a nanny is likely going to come to your house. It can be on your schedule. So unless your nanny's availability is limited or that changes, typically you set the schedule for the nanny. And it can be very customized. So for example, if you would like for your nanny to take your child to the park 3 times a week or visit the zoo or feed your child this or that, it can be very customized, right? And nannies come from a background of having had professional experience as caregivers. And so that really goes hand in hand with, your interview process. If that's really important to you, you would definitely want to ask that question. If you're going through an agency, chances are they've been trained professionally or they have that sort of professional background. All right, the cons that could potentially be if you use a nanny. Well, the nanny's commuting to your home. So what if the nanny's late? What if she hits traffic? Like that could definitely impede on your ability to get out the door on time. Nannies also can be expensive. So I know this was definitely one of the more expensive options when I was doing my research when it came to childcare. And having lived in the Bay Area, one of the most expensive areas in the US for many years when we used nannies, this did not come cheap. You guys, like nannies, they have to pay their bills too. And it's an expensive place to live. So it can be expensive in the budget area. The price also does increase per kid with a nanny as far as what I've seen, but I will tell you, it's usually not as big of a jump as a daycare, right? It's usually less of an increase per hour when it comes to that. So that is sort of my overview when it comes to the nanny option. Let's move on to option number 3, which is another option I strongly considered when we were looking for our nanny, was the nanny share option, right? Nanny share option. If you haven't heard of this, this is like all the benefits of a nanny, but now you may not be hosting at your home all the time because you share this nanny with another family. So how this works is, and this could be a pro or a con depending how you look at it, but maybe you host half the time and the other family hosts half the time. Maybe the agreement is it's always hosted at your home because that's just more convenient for both families. Maybe it's always hosted at the other person's home. So it really depends on how that agreement goes with the nanny and with the other family involved. And I've only ever heard of this with one other family. I'm not sure if people have done it with more than one family. Obviously, another great pro about a nanny share, it can be much less expensive than having a nanny all to yourself because now you and another family are sharing those costs. So even if the hourly rate goes up slightly because there's 2 children or there are 3 children versus 1 or 2, that cost typically isn't like all on your own and it's split with another family, which is pretty cool. So we definitely looked into this option for a while because of that cost benefit, but we weren't able to align the needs of our schedule with the needs of another family and nannies, another family's schedule and another nanny's availability. All right, cons of a nanny share. The care may not be as personalized, right? Because obviously another child or 2 are added to the mix. So if you have a newborn and you want your nanny to be completely focused on your newborn all the time, but your nanny share situation includes another newborn or a toddler or both, that's going to obviously take some of that nanny's attention. Then there's the issue of it may not be at your home. So again, this could be a pro or con. Like maybe you don't want the childcare in your home because you're like, I don't want the mess, or I don't want the noise, or I don't want whatever it is because you work from home or whatever. Or maybe you do prefer it in your home, but now you have to split that space with another family, or the other family really prefers it be in their home. So that could be a pro or con depending how you look at it. And again, like the con for us with this was that we needed to ensure that our needs and our schedule coordinated with the other family and nanny we were considering. And in the end, it ultimately didn't for us. So we would have had to either bend in what our needs would have been, or we had to go with another option, which is what we ended up doing. So if you're able to be flexible, or if you find a great match, that could work too. Amazing. But that is the nanny share option. All right, let's move into another option here. And this is one I know a lot about, you guys, because not only did we use this childcare option for about, what was it? Maybe 7-ish years. We used this option, but I also used to work in this childcare space for 11 years. So that is the option of the au pair. The au pair, if you've heard of au pairs, you know these are live-in childcare providers. They come from other countries. They're typically young, between 18 and 26 years old. They stay for about a year to 2 years, depending if they want to extend or not their program. And yeah, I worked in the au pair industry on the corporate side of the house for 11 years. So I know a lot about this option, and I had the wonderful benefit to also utilize the option for my own family's childcare needs. So let's talk about the pros of au pairs. So obviously in-home childcare, if that is a pro to you, right? Can't get more in-home than this. The au pair lives with you, right? So as far as a pro, I'll just highlight your au pair is not going to be typically late because they live in your house, right? So if they aren't in the kitchen by 9 a.m. when their day starts, you just knock on their bedroom door and be like, hello, it's time, right? They also have more flexibility in their schedule. So this can change weekly, even daily, honestly. And I wouldn't recommend this if you have an au pair. Like, it's not a good idea to constantly change their schedule because your au pair has a life outside of childcare, but you do have flexibility in the sense of like, hey, if this week the schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at these hours, and next week it changes to those hours, that's okay, as long as you are communicating that effectively to your au pair and you're following some of the guidelines and important rules when it comes to max number of hours per day and per week. Your au pair is from another country. So I think this is a pro because it brings a new culture and possibly a new language into your home. So kind of an added benefit for learning for your kids and for your family in general. And big pro here, the cost doesn't change with the number of children you have. So we are a 4-child household, and having an au pair was a really helpful solution. Although most of the au pairs that we hosted came before we were a family of 4, it was still really cost effective and great. Okay, potential cons here of the au pair childcare solution. Maybe you don't actually want someone living in your home, right? Maybe that's not for you. That's okay. Maybe your home isn't really set up for that. You do need to have an extra bedroom if you want to host an au pair. The program is also, like I said, 1 year with the option to extend up to another year. So there isn't longevity necessarily there. So if, let's say, you wanted to keep the same caregiver for your family for like all the 10 years you were going to be using childcare, an au pair is not going to be the best option when it comes to that because you're going to have to switch out your person every 1 to 2 years. So that is a little bit about the au pair option. And like I said, we hosted au pairs for about 7 years. It was a great solution for us. And we still keep in touch with many of our previous au pairs, which I really love too, as well as our previous nannies. All right, let's talk about our last option here that I've got on our list, which is family. Now, this may or may not be a possibility for you. Maybe you don't live close to family. Maybe your family's not able to help you with childcare. But if it is an option, let's talk about the pros and cons of it, okay? Pros, it's free, right? Like most grandparents aren't going to charge you to watch the kids. And that is a huge cost savings in today's market when it comes to childcare. Childcare is a huge expense out there. Next pro, you know they love your kids. So that probably gives you some peace of mind, like you're leaving them with someone who really just adores them. And also, let's just not forget, they raised you or your partner, so they've got experience being parents. So hopefully there's a really high level of trust there if you are leaning into family when it comes to that. On the con side, okay, I'm just going to say it. It's family, so you might have a harder time like setting boundaries or rules with them. And depending on their personality and your parenting style, this could create a rift. Okay, sometimes people don't like to do business with friends. You might not want to do business in the sense with family in this way, and totally understandable. You might also feel a little uneasy accepting this support without compensating for it. So maybe you just feel like, well, I don't know. It feels very one-sided. I don't know if I can accept that. So, hey, here's the thing. If that's the case, I want you to really think about this. Like, is this problematic where you feel like there's some resentment there or anything like that? Or is this just like a you problem? Just throwing it out there, right? If they are totally willing to do it and they are telling you no problem, don't pay me, whatever it is, great. If they don't want to do it, they also need to speak up for themselves, right? Like this is not your job to tell them what they should or should not do. So there you have it in a nutshell, like 20 minutes or less. I have given you 5 childcare solutions with some pros and cons for each one. I hope you found this helpful. I hope if you are in a season of returning to work or thinking about adding to your family, or like if you're in the research and development phase of looking for childcare options, I hope this was a helpful resource to you. And I'm curious what childcare option you have used or you're currently using. So go ahead and send me an email or a note. You have my contact information in the show notes. You can send me a DM or an email or however you want to reach out and let me know. I'm curious. And don't forget, if you found this episode super helpful, to do a little 5-star rating or leave a little nice review on the whatever podcast platform you're listening from. I would so appreciate that. And that is that, mama friends. So happy holidays. I hope you are enjoying. If you are having a hard time, again, finding that joy, check out Holiday Habits. Hope you found this episode helpful, and I will see you soon. Bye. You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.